Dom Devereaux. Hey, want y'all lock in with me real quick while I tell y'all this quick testimony. All right, let's go. So, this story is really not that long. It's a little funny to me because it really does show the the beauty of how patient God is with us. So, when I said I wanted to share the story, or like if you knew my testimony, it had like a very short ending. Like, man, basically, I've been praying for this. The funny part about it is that how did I get so connected to China's like their walk, I guess, or their journey to Christianity? Like, how did I get so connected to it? All right, so boom. You know, I'm from Chicago, right? That's every Chicagoan's, like, you're getting ready to hear a story, right? So, years leading up to this, I had left the church. I actually left the faith, right? And I joined into another faith. We won't get into that story. That's one of it, like a story by itself. But coming back to Christianity, following Christ, it was it was all very supernatural, of how things came about, how who the people that God connected me to, and all those things. Let's fast forward, and I would say like 2009, 2010 is when I started coming back to Christ, and I started trying to be reconnected to the church and things like that. And what I didn't know is that that was going to be the decision that like catapulted me into some of the most beautiful, craziest experiences that I've had with God, right? So I had been away from the church and had really put down the faith for many years, and so I had been like doing my own thing for real, like really just clubbing and drinking and doing all these things, hanging out, partying, and all that stuff. I'm only saying this to say is like there's a like about a 4 to 5 year period when I decided to come back to Christianity, and the experiences that I started to encounter when God was like pulling me in. It was like, okay, he see like, okay, I've decided I'm gonna get back on this path, or yeah, realign with this path. But it was a lot of old things that I had to put down. So that 4 to 5 year process, or 4 to 5 year time period, is what I was using to, like, just kind of put all those old things behind me, grow closer to Him. And the best friend out of that, and the mother to my goddaughter, the Lord paired us up to where like we like journey together and putting down some of those old ways and old habits and past issues and all that stuff. What we're trying to come into play is this: at about 2014, 15, like out of 14 into 15, I had been experiencing some real like strange encounters with God, like through intercession. And the Lord would pull me into these places supernaturally, but I would be there. Like, I could look around. I knew where I was. I and it used to freak me out. Also in that time frame, he had taken me on this journey of fasting and praying. And so I would start to find myself to look up believers who had had these experiences, because every nobody really wants to feel like they're like out on the island by themselves. But sometimes getting closer to God sometimes requires you to like put away other people so that you can only hear His voice, and that's what He was training me for. I didn't realize that during that time that He was really training me for the time that I'm in now. Let's do one instance at a time. I was on a year-long period of fasting, not one straight year of fasting, but a year-long period of fasting. It started out very small. I did a day fast, 3 day fast, 7 day fast. Give me a break, Lord. Like 7 day fast again. Next thing I did was like 14 day fast. I probably stayed there for a little while, but the Lord was building up a certain muscle for me. 14 day fast, 21 day fast, 30 day fast, did a 40 day fast. But like they kicking my butt. Like it was kicking butt, it was killing my flesh. God had me in a place where I like where He wanted to, and I so desperately desired to be, where I only heard His voice. I actually got I call it persecution. I got persecuted for that, actually, publicly. God has since then, He's shown me the reasonings behind that, and He also even in this whole thing with like China, he's really let me know that that was okay. That time in that period of my life was okay. It's gonna happen. You know what I mean? I was publicly like called out like, you seek God too much, you seek His Spirit too much, you seek Him, His presence. You always in the Word. You always trying to find about more about God, and it actually hurt me. But the Lord healed me over the past, I'll say 3 years or so. He really did like heal my heart in that, but He needed to take me through those times so that I will understand who I am in Him. All right, so during that fasting period, right, where I was just like only seeking Him, I had to cut out everybody else's voices so that I can hear God's voice. God was training me to hear His voice. And so I thought that was a really beautiful thing. He also had me like looking up people, studying people. One of the people that I started to follow was John Paul Jackson, the prophet. He had very similar encounters that I would have, and he was a dreamer, and so am I. And he saw visions, he dreamed, and all this stuff. Well, his call to ministry was very unique, because before this, he had, he was a believer and all that stuff, but he just, felt like, I'm a believer, I pray, I read my Bible, like that type of thing. And that's what he felt like his role was. He was really wealthy. He worked at like a Fortune 500 company or whatever, and that's what he thought his role was as a Christian. I'm a believer. I read the Word. I pray for people. His call to ministry was like this. This lady, I can't remember her name, but she was in Jerusalem, and she had a vision from God, or an angel, a voice of God, something like that, told her to go to the United States and do a 3-day teaching on the specific radio station. And at the end of this, or that she would be looking to call like this young man into ministry, basically. Her instructions were to get to the airport, and she had to just go to the airport and be at the airport where the Lord told her to be. And then this other man just walked to her and was like, "Hey, are you this person?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he like gave her money or gave her a ticket or something like that. And that's how she got to Texas, where she went to this radio station. And so 3 days she did this show on this Christian radio station, and John Paul Jackson was hearing it. He listened to it every day, and he said that he was praying like, "Lord, please send this man, send this young man, let him answer her call," you know what I mean? And and he was just really interceding for this young man. Day 3 gets here, the lady's getting ready to leave. About 10 minutes before the show ends, the Lord tells him, call in. He calls in. As soon as they pick up, she says, "What took you so long, son?" Um, he's like, "What are you talking about?" So basically, the whole story is he was doing what he thought to be his role in the kingdom of God by just praying, when God wanted something more from him. God wanted something different from him. God wanted him to put action to that faith. And it turns out that God called him into ministry that day. She had a whole word for him and told him that the Lord had showed him all these things, right? So, why is that important to this story? Well, God had been using me in all these supernatural ways leading up to this particular moment that I'm going to share with y'all about. And during this fasting time, there was a period in this year, there was a period of time where I would wake up, speak to God. I would take communion because Smith Wigglesworth said that, and you got to hear me. This was my Christian formation. You see what I'm saying? Like, this was my God was taking me on my own Christian formation, right? And He was allowing me to kind of seek out those who had come before me. So I dove really deeply into Smith Wigglesworth. Lord help me. Um, so he had said that every morning he woke up, he got dressed really nicely, and he would take communion before the Lord and read his Bible all day. And so I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. I felt like the things that people did all day, it could be a lot worse than that. You know what I mean? And so I took his lead. So I would wake up, get cleaned up and everything, pray, talk to the Lord. I would have communion, and I wouldn't get dressed until I felt like I heard God tell me what to wear. Like, this is how like deep it was. And I'm not saying that everybody's journey has to be like this, or anybody else's journey has to be like this. I'm just saying that this is how God molded me into the me that I am today, right? So I would not get dressed until I felt like he was telling me what pants to wear, what shirt to wear, which color shirt, what shoes to wear. I didn't have very much anyway because I had gotten rid of everything. He told me to get rid of everything. I got rid of everything. So I didn't have very many options to choose from anyway. I found that every day in that time, somebody would say something about something that I had on or shoes or ask me questions. I would even, just be out running and have these supernatural encounters. And I guess what this story is mainly about is divine appointment, because that's what it really came down to. It came down to um, John Paul Jackson being divinely appointed, and the person who called the Lord used to call him the ministry being divinely appointed, and everybody being in the right place. I was reading a book during this time as well, called In Punto, and that's literally about divine appointments. Like, what if everybody heard the voice of God and followed his instructions to the letter? Like how things would so seamlessly come together. I was believing that. I still believe that very much so. It does fuel my obedience to God because I've seen it with my eyes and there's nothing that can shake that. Um but in this time the Lord had begun to do things to train me, my hearing, my vision, my all of these things. So I had been dreaming a lot, and I dreamt that pause. He had also been just talking and speaking to me. So he had given me this description of this man named Mark. Gonna be a white man, scruffy beard, blue jeans on, white Ford truck, right? Yeah, he just gave me that full description. Says he was gonna need prayer for uh, something going on in his body. I know what it is, but what was going on in his body, the Lord said he would need prayer for. And so one morning, like I said, I didn't move until God said so. And so one morning I got up. I was finishing up prayer, finishing up writing my journal and all that stuff. I was still sitting on the sofa, and the Lord said, "Go to the store. Go now." I said, "Do I got time?" Because I had on my prayer sweater, which that was fine, but I had on like pajama loungy pants. I said, "Do I have time to change my pants?" And He said, "Go now." I went to go get some prune juice because I like it now, but I didn't like it then. But as I was fasting, I would fast in the days, specific fast, but longer fast. I would fast in the days with water only, and then in the evenings I would have like prune juice or like green juice, like kale juice, vegetable juice, stuff like that. And so I was going to get prune juice. I still got the receipt, and this is just how God like trained me up, and this is because of so many different things were going on in my mind. I mean, in my life at that time, that I felt like nobody would believe me, so I kept things like that. I don't know if it's in this journal, but I also kept like really large journals. And you see, like I had to like start to like date because I had to like try to keep up with this. And so he had told me, to go to see this man. He gave me his description, told me what he would need and all of these things. And I would go and I would do it. And so Mark stood out because Mark I actually got the description of Mark after the dreams of China. And so Mark stood out because it was just I just had never seen. I never like I was like, oh God, like this is so crazy, like this is so cool. Here it is right here. Kroger receipt. I don't know. And it says met Mark, the Sarah Lee bread man. The Lord said I'd meet him. Told me on 11/4. And I bought my juice, my prune juice. Here's why that's so important. And he said I went immediately. I went to the juice aisle because that's what I was going to get. And I looked down the aisle and there was that man. And I said, oh Lord, like I had butterflies in my stomach. Like Jesus, you know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna this man's gonna think I'm crazy. I went up to him, I said, is your name, sir? Mark. I said, do you drive a white Ford truck? He first said no. Because he's putting bread on the shelves. He's a bread man, putting bread on the shelves. And he said, you know what? Come to think about it, my work truck is a white Ford truck. And I said, well, the Lord sent me here to pray for you. And so he let me pray for him. And then after we finished praying, he said, he giggled He said, "You think that you came for me, and the Lord had me here for you." And then he said, "You have all these question marks around." He said, "I see all these question marks around you, and God's going to answer all of those questions, and He's going to reveal all the things that you want to know about Him, and He's going to do it in a way that's going to literally blow your mind." He said, "I see you like this," and he named this like he's an evangelist, more so like this missionary that would literally wake up every morning and go sit on these particular steps and wait to hear from God. He pointed me in the direction of this documentary that had followed him, and I was like just blown away, because again I had been looking for people and things that were similar to my experiences. I had never known anybody that had these experiences before, and it was like God was really showing me these things that it wasn't new. It was new to me. Anyways, there was this red door that was in the neighborhood where I lived in, and I kept having dreams of a red door. So I naturally, my natural understanding was to attach that red door to that red door. So I was running, so I would curate my jogging path past that house so that I can like pray for those people. God never told me to go to the door, knock on the door, anything like that. I didn't know. So these dreams had been happening even before the whole bread man thing. And they kind of escalated. They got more and more in detail. So what started with the red door, and then it went on to like I would see myself really, really big, and I would be taking these big giant steps, and it'd be like these small houses. And then it will go from just only seeing the small houses to seeing like strong lights, not big lights but bright lights coming out of these strong houses. And then I would start to see people surrounding this little bitty light. Their faces would be like illuminated, and but the light, it was small but it was strong and bright. And as they kept progressing, I would pray through, ask the Lord about it, ask the Lord about it. He would show me more and more and more. Well, finally, did give me a he gave me a plain like dream one day where I saw YICHANG. I said, I don't know what that is, but through these dreams, I had started seeing other names or words, I'll say, and they're all like written in my journal. I don't know what some of them are still to this day, but there are a bunch of just words that I'm like question mark, like what does that mean? What does that mean? But because of all the things that had happened surrounding, I mean, it talks about the villages, it talks about the population, it talks about I had this is the funny part. This is the whole reason why I say this whole China thing is funny, because all the things that God started revealing to me, I said, "Oh, the Lord is sending me to China." I done put the cost is $5,250.23. So I said I got to get ready because the Lord about to send me to China. And I write all that stuff down because I'm like, I'm coming back because I was gonna go to the airport like the little lady did who called John Paul Jackson the ministry, or the Lord used her to call him the ministry. I was getting ready to literally go to the airport. I had my dates. This is January, I say 10th through the 13th, something like that. I had my dates. I was getting ready to go to China. Let me tell you. I had said, okay, so you can't be Christian, or Christian is banned. So I went and bought this Bible. I wore this joker thin too during that time. I went and bought this Bible because I was a big journaler. And I said, maybe I might be able to, get this Bible passed as it's gonna like pass as a journal. I went and bought anything that I felt that I would need there. How I could join this movement of, because what the Lord had revealed to me, what the Lord had revealed to me was that those people in those houses were people who had been sacrificing their life. They were people who were preaching and teaching the gospel in these like secret house churches. Like the Lord has started showing me these missionaries who were going over there and who were underground and who were preaching and teaching the gospel. And I felt like the Lord was sending me. Well, he quickly helped me to understand that he would use me in a way. See, it's, and then some people like, we like, oh, you heard wrong. No, sometimes it is the zeal, right? It's the zeal that gets us excited, that makes us ready to go. But it's also us being used in one way, and we feel like this is the way that God's going to do it. So God has started sending me out. He would tell me, go to this place, go to this corner at 4:19, and you'll see this person. God has started sending me away from my home and go here and go there. Um, he would send me to go apply for jobs. I wouldn't even stay at these jobs for very long. It would just be so that I could have encounter with a person. God sent. I feel like He sent this prophet to my church from Jamaica, the same way that He sent with what's his name, Alice or something like that. I can't remember her name, but that the lady who called John Paul Jackson into ministry, she came from Jerusalem and came to Dallas, Texas. The Lord sent her to Dallas, Texas. So I'm like, surely if God can send her from Jerusalem to Dallas, Texas, He can send me from Kentucky to China, right? And so that's where that came from. But it also came from that I was like, okay, this is my training. God's getting me ready to go, so I'm revved up and I'm ready to go. In all actuality, the Lord wanted to bring me into intercession. And there are things that I've touched in China through intercession that I probably would never have done physically. Um, through spiritual, supernatural encounters. Through God has um, dealt with me very differently. And there is a time, this is that time, I'm pretty sure, that um, the Lord will use that gift that He is giving me more and more and more. And I used to be afraid of it, but I'm very strong and very sure that through even what I've seen in terms of testimony, that the Lord is very faithful and He will get the glory out of it all. Um, I have had different encounters within prayer that will probably blow people's minds. Even so much so that like when we speak in tongues, like my tongues will even I I know it's coming out of my mouth, but it's not something that I know or understand, of course. But it's to the point to where like others will understand it. Um, there would be very specific places that I've seen in intercession, and God will allow for me to pray through until I feel that break happening, until I feel that breakthrough come through. And so to see that like China is just growing in their Christian belief, even though it's not one of the five, I think it's five um known and authorized and approved religions, that the faith is still growing. That to me says that the Bible is true. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord, above and under the earth. And so like um that that testimony means so much more to me than hopping on a plane and going a place, for a few days. Because God has literally connected my prayer life to the advancement of His kingdom in ways that I never could imagine. So that's really my connection. It's really that like I was just very zealous at a time where God was showing me His power, His might, like showing me the things that He could like do if He's so pleased to do. And I was just zealous, and I was like, "Yep, I'm about to get ready to go to China, y'all." I was literally about to get ready and go to the airport and stand in the airport and wait on somebody to come and give me a ticket, or to come and give me an envelope with the money for the ticket in there, and send me on my way. And God said, "That's just not how you're going to be connected to this particular part of my plan. However, there is a part for you to play." And so I'm only sharing this because I just feel like sometimes we get so caught up and wrapped up in our role as Christians, and you kind of limit yourself, or you kind of limit like what God can do, or how God can use you. So I wanted to just encourage people, like if God wants to use you in a way that you've never been used before, open up try to, lean not on to your own understanding. Um, Follow the Lord, trust in Him, and He will direct your path. Um, because we are in a time where there's going to be some unconventional ways that God's going to need to reach people, His people, and it's not going to look how you would normally be used. You might have been a praise dancer or a worshiper, and God might have you out here preaching, preaching, preaching. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many people are stepping down from those roles. So many people are, so many moves and shifting, so much changing of the guards that God's going to have to use us in ways. Those willing vessels, those of us who said, use me, Lord, like here I am, send me, them type of people, we're going to be doing things that we didn't expect to do or is outside of our wheelhouse or what we might feel is our wheelhouse. So I would just say, open up your eyes, seek God deeply in prayer and ask for direction so that He can tell you which way to go. And even if it seems crazy, do it. Because God really is in the business of going after the one. You know what I mean? Like he's in that business of going after the one, and he don't really care about how you feel that it's gonna make you look. Like he ain't that, that's not his thing. We gotta put our boots to the ground and let's get out here and win these souls. And that post about China growing in Christianity and believers that follow Christ is huge. It's huge. One of the things I ran, and then this is it. I ran into a person um maybe 2 years after I had that dream, and I brought that up, and they said, "Do you know like how heavy it is? Like the Tibetan monks were like saturated in a particular part of that area." And then he was like, "The warfare is so great because of all of the different prayers and beliefs from different gods and stuff up towards different gods." So like that, he said the warfare. He was from there. He said the warfare was just so strong. He was like, "It is such a blessing that God has assigned you to pray and intercede on the behalf of so many people." Um, just the population, just it's like 3 billion. I could be wrong. I'll add the correction in there, but you know what I mean, like all those people. So I just wanted to encourage others, like God will do some strange things through you if you allow Him to, but He's going to get the glory. And sometimes you get to see the testimonies of those, and it blesses you. And so this post about China really really blessed me, because God has really had me on this journey probably about it's 10 years now that I have been assigned to pray and stay on the wall and intercede for a whole nation, that I've never been to or set foot on that soil before. So that's my story. Thank y'all for listening. All right.